I give Chris Bosh a 10-day contract in the league right now. What are you doing in 25 minutes of action?
25 minutes of action
Yes, sir.
in practice?
No, in a game.
Workouts
In a game.
Right now?
Yes.
Ooh.
What's the stat line looking like?
Ooh. 0.
No.
0 and 25 minutes played.
How many fouls?
5.
I love that. And then, that's actually incredible.
Whether it's the vaunted 2003 NBA draft, the Miami Heat Heatles title-winning teams, or even the larger discussion of the greatest power forwards of all time, one name is consistently left off that list, and that name is Chris Bosh. And in the words of the great Owen Hart, enough is enough, and it's time for a change. Chris Bosh is not only the first of his kind in terms of being the first actual NBA stretch forward of the modern era, but Chris Bosh is also the last of his kind. A number one superstar willing to let go of his ego and adapt his game for the greater good of winning a championship and creating a winning culture. But when the time comes, you have to also step up even though you haven't had those opportunities the rest of the year. In fact, Chris Bosh showed that maybe the greatest number 3 in the era of big threes ever. So buckle up, because it's time to put some respect on Chris Bosh's name, even though the rest of the NBA will not. Whether you think the 2003 draft class is the singular greatest ever, you are in agreement that it is definitely one of. And funnily enough, people will remember LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, and Dwayne Wade no problem. Hell, they even remember Darko, who was picked at second and is regarded as maybe the biggest draft bust in NBA history. But many people forget that Chris Bosh was number 4 in that draft, picked ahead of Dwayne Wade. And at the time, it made a hell of a lot of sense. He was a 6'10", sweet shooting power forward with excellent moves in the post and a knack for rebounding and playing solid defense. And oh, what did Bosh do in his first few years? Oh, he only lived up to that potential. The dude averaged 24 points and 10 rebounds on Raptors teams that were straight trash, and he still led them to the playoffs. But it was like a weird twilight zone with Chris Bosh. People who played basketball and knew basketball knew he was one of the best players in the NBA. But because the public at large didn't put any respect on the name of Toronto, and truthfully, people in America don't even know where Toronto is, his name got lost in the sauce. It was kind of like, well, anyone can average 25 and 10 for the shitty Raptors when you have 40 shots a game. Really poor thinking, but I guess you can see where it comes from in a larger sense, without realizing that averaging 25 and 10 in the 2003 to 2010 era, that's nothing short of spectacular, and Chris Bosh was in the MVP conversation. But the dude feels the insane amounts of disrespect that he's getting, and also wants to be in a winning situation because, well, it's the Raptors. Need I say more? Especially back then. So what does he do? He moves to Miami and makes not one peep that he's now gone from the number 1 option, bona fide scoring option, to now being number 3. And in fact, he, despite being a max contract player and was recruited almost as heavily as LeBron, of course not as heavily, but still, the fact that Miami got Bosh and Braun to pair with Wade was huge. It wasn't like Wade and Braun, and a little guy named Chris Bosh. It became that later because Bosh decided to give up all his touches to be the best number 3 you've ever seen. And tell me, did he not achieve that? The dude got no touches on offense, was tasked with being the anchor for the defense, and even though he had always been a good defender, one of his downsides was that he was always very tall and thin, so he would get bullied by bigger guys. But Miami didn't care. They needed him to be that defensive anchor, and guess what? He was. Then, as the league was changing, they were like, hey Chris, we now need you to shoot threes. And then what did he do? Oh yeah, he went and shot threes. And then, if we're talking about any one of those title runs, do the Heat win without Chris Bosh? Hell no. Y'all can think he was some bit player, and if you do, you were not watching the Miami Heat in those times. This guy did everything, all of the dirty work, all the while not getting any praise when the Heat won. Remember, when the Heat won, it was only about LeBron and Wade. When the Heat lost, it was like trade Chris Bosh. People acted like this dude was a bum. And man, he had just come off averaging 24 and 10 for the Raptors. You think I'm lying? Look it up. And oh yeah, when the Heat repeat, when we beat San Antonio, Chris Bosh makes a huge block on Danny Green. And then oh yeah, what about when LeBron misses a 3 and who gets the rebound to pass it to Ray Allen for the craziest 3 in NBA history? Oh, Chris Bosh. Would you look at that? So, I'ma say it to you plainly and clearly. Put some goddamn respect on Chris Bosh's name if you think this guy wasn't a legendary basketball player. You're just plainly wrong. Here's the thing. When Chris Bosh was drafted, they didn't even respect his entire skill set. He was the best shooting big man of his class, but when he was drafted, he wasn't allowed to shoot threes. He wasn't expected to. They kind of derided him for being such a good mid-range scorer. And then, oh look, literally 2 years later, they're like, oh, we need you to shoot threes because the league is changing to small ball. And guess what? Chris Bosh became a lockdown shooter and defender. But actually, his greatest act was the one that was cut short. So imagine, it's 2014 and LeBron James has decided to leave to go back to Cleveland. Dwayne Wade's body has given up on him. He's unable to provide that number 1 spot. And so, guess who gets thrust right back into a number 1 spotlight? Chris Bosh! Bro, think about this. He was a number 1 option in Toronto. They said your stats don't matter, you're shit. He goes to Miami, helps them go to 4 straight finals and 2 titles. They say you're a bit player, chump change next to LeBron and Dwayne Wade. Now LeBron James leaves again to go back to Cleveland. And now the expectation right away is that you step back into a number 1 role. Bro, it doesn't matter about skill or talent at this point. This takes extraordinary mental strength and a massive lack of ego. This man did everything for his team. And in the short period that he was the Miami Heat's number 1 option post LeBron, Chris Bosh was playing like a number 1 option and got rewarded with highly deserved max contract. Unfortunately for us and the entire basketball world at large, Chris Bosh was diagnosed with career-ending blood clots, as if the basketball gods were playing one last cruel joke on him. Every twist and turn in his career, Chris Bosh got money, he got fame, he got championships. But funnily enough, he never got the due respect that he truly deserved for being the original point forward stretch shooting big man in the modern NBA era. And now, after watching this video, it's time to put some respect on Chris Bosh's name.